Tom Upchurch. I'm sitting here with Phil, call him Cousin Phil. First became engaged with genealogy mostly under his influence many years ago when I found there was the guy out there who was doing all sorts of research on the Upchurch family. I knew there were other people who were doing it, but not to the extent that he was. Found out this guy has spent 40 years on Upchurch genealogy. He's a professor in plant science at a couple of major universities, but his avocation has been the Upchurch family. And I had a number of questions I wanted to ask, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. I have been to Phil's house, and there are incredible numbers of filing cabinets filled with information. There are 4,000 pages of published information, all on Upchurches. How did you get involved in this like that?
Well, Tom, that's a question people often ask me. In fact, everybody asks everybody, how did you get started in family history? So, in fact, I've had a chance to prepare myself for this question.
Oh,
and I got interested in the two circumstances. The first time was a very fleeting kind of circumstance, and I'll tell you about that. But after that happened, a number of years went by, and I really decided to get interested, and here's what I wrote in 1975.
wow.
I said, Upchurch genealogy, notes taken by R.P. Upchurch based on discussions with Uncle Geddes Upchurch. The attached sheets labeled A through F were discovered on my closet shelf on April 17, 1975. I vaguely recall seeing them from time to time, but upon searching for them over the last several years could not locate them. Well, what are these sheets? Well, these are sheets that I wrote in 1955. I still got them. You know, they're getting old with age now. But I'll tell you the circumstance under which this happened. Uncle Geddes was an old bachelor, and he and I were good buddies. We went possum hunting together. And
That's as close as you can get.
and Uncle Geddes and I were really a pair. Uncle Geddes often had the desire, but not the wherewithal. And he wanted to place a tombstone at his grandfather's place. Now, his grandfather was Gilbert Upchurch, born in 1792 and died in 1835. And he had the tombstone created, but he didn't know where his grandfather Gilbert was buried. So I had a car, so he commissioned me to haul him up to the next county to see where they were. And along the way, I started asking Uncle Geddes, what can you tell me about the family? Uncle Geddes was sort of a philosopher, and he remembered all this stuff. And I wrote it down. And I later found out that a great deal of it was true, but there's one bit that wasn't true. He said these two brothers, his grandfather Nathan and my great-great-grandfather Nathan, and a guy named Aaron moved to a certain place. Well, it turned out it wasn't Aaron, it was Moses. So he made a little mistake. But you know, I think most people that get interested in family history, they can trace it back to somebody in their family that had an interest. And I know, Tom, you and I and our connections over the years have focused a little bit on your grandmother, Adivine, who I corresponded with for many years, and she was fantastically interested in and knowledgeable about family history. Would you say some of your interest traces back to her?
I would say that it does. I think the thing that makes me more interested in the whole thing is, well, in the first place, history. Any history is fascinating, but Upchurch history kind of gives you more of a feeling about where you came from or why you're the way you are. But what fascinates me about what you do is so many people have this knowledge in their head. A few have gained a great knowledge, but they sort of die with it. And I think Alex Haley, I know the author of Roots, at one point said that when a person dies, it's like a whole library goes with them. So one of the things I'm excited about in doing these Upchurch story videos is documenting for this generation and future generations what you know about Upchurches, along with what's written in the Upchurch bulletins. So that's one of the things that got me fired up about this. And of course, I'm a little bit of a computer nerd, just enough to get myself in trouble, but enough to know that if we can preserve this this information that you have, this will probably be a tremendous thing for future generations to
Well,
have.
Tom, that kind of fits in with how my interest unfolded. After I made this note in 1975, I began to think more seriously about what I was doing. And I think the fact that I wrote that in 1975 means I was getting into the business of family history, and I was collecting records and visiting with people. And I said to myself, now look, if I collect all this stuff, is it just going to sit in my file cabinets and come to naught? And it was explained to me by my wife on one occasion. She says, you know, if you don't figure out how to get this stuff out of here sometime, it may just go to the dumpster one day. And so I explained that to my daughter Deb, and I said, you know, your mother says that her next husband may throw this stuff out. Deb says, you know, Dad, you may not have to wait for the next husband. So what I did is I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the Upchurch Bulletin. So by 1980, I was in the position to start writing a bulletin. And I'm now in my 33rd year of writing the Upchurch Bulletin. I've written over 100 issues of this bulletin.
4,000 pages.
Yes.
The other thing that I would like for people to see, and maybe we can do this on another video, I would like for people just to see all these filing cabinets that you have with biographies.
Well, you know, I had to take one step beyond this because I collected so much stuff I couldn't put it in the Upchurch Bulletin, and that's when I came up with the idea of trying to have an Upchurch collection at the university. And that'll take another telling to go into the details about the Upchurch collection that has been established at North Carolina State University.
Right.
Another unique opportunity for our very special Upchurch family.
Right.
So that's how I got started.
So we're trying to do it. We're going to have we've got a web page.
Yes.
We're doing these videos. We've got the Upchurch Bulletin, which are archived at the University of, North Carolina State University. And so a lot of good things going on.
All right, let's go take a look at those files, Tom.
All right, we'll do that in the next video.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.